Hello, I made a version of chess that is fully playable within the terminal. Um, this is my partner's microservice. This is to show that there's nothing in the file that his microservice writes into. And you move around the board with arrow keys. It's getting asynchronous input through the getKeys library. Each piece moves like you'd expect a chess piece to move. If you don't know how chess pieces move, it's over here. There is capturing. Captures are recorded at the top and bottom of the screen. Captured black pieces are recorded for the white player, and that is done through my partner's microservice, which can be seen here. There is a white piece, it was a pawn, black piece, it was a pawn. And then we also have pawn promotion. All right, and then you can promote a piece. I'll just promote to a queen. And then you can see that the pawn does change to a queen. I will show the game over screen. Black wins. The same works for white. If white wins, I won't go through a scholar's mate, but if you want to resign, you press the R button on your keyboard, and it'll get the input, and you just click yes, and it'll resign. And this is the white wins screen. There is castling as well. You can see that the king can move over 2 spaces, and the rook will castle and move to the other side of the king. It also won't highlight a space if it's going to put the king into check. Or if the king is already in check, it also won't allow you to move a piece in any other direction. So here we can see that the only legal move for the knight to take is to take the bishop. The pawn can move up. None of the other pieces are allowed to move. The king could move to the side, the rook could move up. But only legal moves are shown to the player. And yeah, showed the microservice. Benefits of new and existing features. It performs exactly like chess. The only thing that isn't like explicit in the board game for chess is that you could, in theory, make an illegal move on accident, which is not allowed in this. It checks for you. Cost of using new and existing features. It does tell you that if you resign, if you click R, it's like you're going to lose if you press this button. Gather as much info as they want. They can see what each of the pieces are. I try to explain which piece goes to which thing. Like the pawn is the most common piece. The rooks start in the corners. The knight is next to the rook. The bishop next to the knight. Queen is in the left center. King is in the right center. And how each of them move. Familiar features are, I mean, it's chess. If you know how chess works, then it performs exactly like you'd expect chess to work. Checkmates, checks, all the things. The only instance of undo is whenever you're resigning. You can choose to not resign, or you can choose to resign. And explicit path through the task. It is said up here, you win when the enemy king, the unique piece in the 5th column to the left, has no legal moves it can make, which is the goal of chess, to force the king to have no legal moves. Different ways of approaching its chess. There's like millions of ways of playing the game or something. Tinker mindfully. I guess the verification window. You can resign at any time to restart the game. You're not locked in ever. has all of those things. Um, the quality attribute, accessibility. If you're like visually impaired or something, like it's very clear what is happening on the board, and you can tell from like a glance and a distance um, what's going on. I also added all of these things so that someone who's new to chess could figure out how to play. Um, and now it's time for the code scroll, which admittedly doesn't look pretty. There's a lot of code, um, but I will scroll through it. And that is the game object that's called by the app. So the way you run the code is you run the server in the background, and then you run the application. And then we also have the microservice running all the time. This also clears the thing every time it runs. um, so the game is made by the app, or by app.py, and then the game makes a bunch of tiles which have functions for like projecting or highlighting or checking if check is going to happen. Um, this is my microservice server, since I'm using both mine and my partner's microservices for this. I'll scroll through. Then I have my little API that I have. It's really short. I added a lot of comments for no reason. Um, this is sort of the QA stands for quick add. So this is my like mini API that I made so that I could interact with my partner's microservice easier. This is my partner's microservice. This is the file for pawn, horse, or knight. I have it as horse because H, but then I realized that N is typically used for knight. Bishop, rook, queen, which is just an amalgam of bishop and rook, and then king. And that is all of the code and all of the things for my microservice. I'm going to exit out of my partner's microservice now.